The alien armada arrived in Sector 7 Alpha like a storm cloud blocking out the stars. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of the Liberty as hundreds of ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Each ship was bigger than his entire vessel. Together, they formed a wall of metal and weapons that stretched across space. Admiral Vex Thorne's flagship was the largest ship Jake had ever seen. It was easily 10 times the size of the Liberty, with weapon ports covering its entire surface. Around it flew hundreds of smaller warships, fighters, and support vessels. The sight should have made any reasonable person surrender immediately. "Captain," said Communications Officer Lisa Rodriguez, "we are receiving a transmission from the alien fleet." "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. Admiral Thorne appeared on the screen. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. His uniform was covered with medals and decorations. When he spoke, his voice was cold and filled with authority. "Attention, human ship. You are in violation of Galactic Council Resolution 847. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have 1 minute to respond." Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting to see what he would do. These people had followed him across the galaxy. They trusted him to make the right decision. Jake knew that surrendering would not save their lives. The original transmission had been clear. No survivors. "Open a channel to all frequencies," Jake told Lisa. "Channel open, sir." Jake stood up from his captain's chair and faced the screen. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Liberty. We are conducting lawful exploration in neutral space under the terms of the Galactic Accords. We have committed no crimes and threatened no one. We will not surrender to unprovoked aggression." Admiral Thorne's expression did not change. "Your response is noted and rejected. All ships, open fire." The space around the Liberty suddenly filled with energy beams and missiles. The ship's shields flared to life, glowing bright blue as they absorbed the incoming attacks. Chief Tactical Officer Ryan Cooper worked frantically at his station, trying to coordinate their defenses. "Shields holding at 80%, Ryan reported. "But, Captain, we cannot take this kind of punishment for long." Chief Engineer Danny Walsh's voice came over the communication system from the engine room. "Captain, I have rerouted power from all non-essential systems to the shields. We are running hot, but we should be able to hold for a few more minutes." Dr. Susan Blake activated the modified quantum resonance array they had been working on. The device sent focused bursts of energy toward the nearest enemy ships. 3 Zephyrian cruisers suddenly lost their shields and began drifting helplessly through space. "Direct hit," Blake reported with excitement. "The quantum resonance is disrupting their shield harmonics just like we hoped." The alien fleet commanders were clearly surprised. Admiral Thorne's voice came over the communication channel again, but this time he was talking to his own ships. "How is one small vessel still fighting? Increase firepower. Destroy that ship immediately." More enemy ships joined the attack. The Liberty shook violently as weapons fire hammered against its shields. Sparks flew from control panels, and the lights flickered. Medical Officer Nicole Grant moved quickly around the bridge, treating crew members who had been injured by flying debris. "Shields down to 40%, Ryan announced. "We need to do something fast or we are not going to make it." Jake made a decision that surprised everyone. "Ryan, target their command ship. Full power to forward weapons." "Sir, our weapons cannot penetrate their shields," Ryan protested. "Maybe not, but we can get their attention. Fire everything we have at Admiral Thorne's flagship." The Liberty's weapons were small compared to what the alien ships carried, but they were precisely aimed. Energy beams struck the massive Zephyrian flagship, causing small explosions across its hull. The attacks did not cause serious damage, but they definitely got Admiral Thorne's attention. "Impossible," Thorne said, his voice now showing anger. "How dare they attack me directly? All ships, focus fire on that vessel. I want it destroyed now." The concentrated fire from 2,000 alien ships was more than the Liberty's shields could handle. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. As systems began failing one by one, smoke filled the corridors and several crew members were seriously injured. "Shields failing," Ryan reported. "We have maybe 30 seconds before they break through." Jake looked around his bridge one more time. His crew was still fighting, still trying to do their jobs even though they all knew they were about to die. He was proud of them. They had faced impossible odds and held their ground longer than anyone could have expected. "Danny, can you give me any more power to the shields?" Jake asked. "Negative, Captain. We are already pushing the engines beyond their safety limits. If I give you any more power, we might blow up before the aliens get a chance to kill us." Dr. Blake was still working with the quantum resonance array. "Captain, I can disrupt a few more ships, but it will not be enough to save us." Jake was about to order the crew to prepare for the end when Lisa suddenly shouted from her station. "Captain, I am detecting new contacts on long-range sensors. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. More aliens?" Jake asked. Lisa worked frantically at her controls, trying to identify the new arrivals. "No, sir. The signature is human. It is a human fleet, and they are big." On the main screen, space began to shimmer as ships materialized from faster-than-light travel. Jake counted 10 ships, then 20, then 50. Each one was sleek and dangerous-looking, unlike any human vessel he had ever seen. Admiral Thorne's fleet stopped firing at the Liberty as they tried to identify the new arrivals. Jake could hear confusion in the alien communications as they tried to figure out where these ships had come from. "This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Earth Defense Force," came a new voice over the communication channel. "All alien vessels, you have 30 seconds to cease your attack on the USS Liberty and withdraw from this sector." Admiral Thorne appeared on screen again, but now he looked worried. "This sector is under Galactic Council jurisdiction. You have, no authority here." "Wrong," Admiral Sullivan replied. "You attacked a peaceful exploration vessel without provocation. You declared war on humanity. Now you get to see what that means." Jake watched in amazement as the human fleet moved into battle formation. The ships were beautiful and deadly like nothing he had ever imagined. After hours of fighting alone against impossible odds, help had finally arrived. "All human ships," Admiral Sullivan continued, "execute attack pattern Delta. Show them what happens when they threaten our people." The battle was about to begin, again. But this time, the odds were very different. Jake smiled as he watched the alien fleet scramble to face this new threat. They had wanted to see what humans were capable of when pushed too far. Now they were going to find out. 3 weeks after the Battle of Sector 7 Alpha, President Marcus Johnson walked into the main chamber of the Galactic Council. The huge room was filled with representatives from hundreds of different alien species. Every seat was occupied, and many delegates were standing along the walls. The entire galaxy wanted to hear what the human leader had to say. Behind President Johnson walked Admiral Kate Sullivan and Captain Jake Morrison. Jake was still recovering from injuries he received during the battle, but he insisted on being present for this historic moment. The footage of his small ship fighting against impossible odds had been broadcast throughout the galaxy. Ambassador Helen Carter, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, had spent weeks preparing for this speech. She knew that everything humanity said today would affect their future in the galaxy for generations to come. The chamber fell silent as President Johnson approached the central speaking platform. Thousands of alien eyes watched him carefully. Many species that had supported the attack on the Liberty were now worried about what humans might do to them. Distinguished delegates, President Johnson began, his voice carrying clearly throughout the chamber. 3 weeks ago, you sanctioned an unprovoked attack on a peaceful human exploration vessel. Your goal was simple: destroy humanity before we became too powerful to control. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many delegates looked uncomfortable. The Zephyrian representative, a thin, gray alien named Counselor Vex Karn, stood up to interrupt. The attack on your ship was justified under Galactic Council Resolution 847, Karn said in a shaky voice. Humanity was deemed a potential threat to galactic peace. President Johnson looked directly at the Zephyrian delegate. Counselor Karn, your military sent 2,000 ships to destroy 43 people. Does that sound like the action of a species concerned about peace? Captain Morrison stepped forward. I was on that ship, Counselor. We were conducting scientific surveys and mapping star systems. We had not threatened anyone. Your admiral ordered our extermination without even attempting communication. The chamber erupted in heated discussions. Many species had not known the full details of what happened in Sector 7 Alpha. They had been told that humans were aggressive and dangerous, but the evidence suggested otherwise. Ambassador Carter activated the chamber's main display screen. Distinguished delegates, I would like you to see exactly what happened during the attack on the USS Liberty. The screen showed footage from the battle, recorded by both human and alien ships. The delegates watched in shocked silence as the massive alien armada surrounded one small human vessel. They saw the Liberty fight desperately against impossible odds, using clever modifications to their equipment to disable enemy ships. Then came the moment that changed everything. The Ghost Fleet appeared from nowhere. 50 advanced human warships that moved and fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The footage showed alien ships being destroyed with weapons that seemed almost magical in their effectiveness. This is impossible, whispered Delegate Thex from the Corvan Republic. How did humans develop such advanced technology so quickly? Admiral Sullivan answered the question. We have been preparing for this day since we first learned that some species in this galaxy view newcomers as threats to be eliminated. Every human ship, every weapon, every defensive system was designed with one purpose: to ensure our survival. The Thalan representative, an insect-like creature named Hive Speaker Zeth, clicked his mandibles nervously. Admiral Sullivan, your fleet destroyed over 800 alien ships in less than 1 hour. How do we know you will not use this power to attack peaceful species? President Johnson's expression became serious. Hive Speaker Zeth, in the 3 weeks since our victory at Sector 7 Alpha, how many human ships have attacked alien vessels? None, Zeth admitted reluctantly. How many alien colonies have we invaded? None. How many alien governments have we threatened? None. But then why are you worried? President Johnson asked calmly. We proved that we can defend ourselves when attacked. We did not prove that we are aggressors. The chamber was silent again. Many delegates were realizing that their fears about human aggression were not supported by any evidence. Humans had only fought when attacked first. Counselor Karn stood up again, his voice desperate. Even if the attack was excessive, humanity cannot be allowed to possess such advanced military technology. It upsets the balance of power in the galaxy. Captain Morrison laughed, which surprised everyone in the chamber. Counselor, 3 weeks ago you thought humans were so weak that 43 of us could be murdered without consequences. Now you are worried that we are too strong. Which is it? Ambassador Carter activated the display again, showing new footage. Distinguished delegates, I want you to see what has happened since the Battle of Sector 7 Alpha. The screen showed human ships resuming their peaceful missions throughout the galaxy. Exploration vessels returned to mapping star systems. Scientific ships continued their research. Trade vessels began establishing new commercial relationships with alien species. As you can see, Carter explained, humanity has returned to exactly what we were doing before the attack. We are explorers, scientists, and traders. We only become warriors when someone tries to kill us. The Nexus representative, a floating gas cloud creature named Essence of Wind, spoke in a voice like whispered music. Human President, what do you want from the Galactic Council? What are your demands? President Johnson considered the question carefully. First, formal recognition that the attack on the USS Liberty was illegal and unprovoked. Second, reparations for the damage done to our ship and crew. Third, the arrest and trial of Admiral Vex Thorne as a war criminal. And fourth, asked the Altarian delegate, a tall, blue-skinned humanoid. Fourth, we want to be left alone to continue our peaceful exploration of the galaxy. We do not want to rule anyone or conquer anything. We just want the same rights that every other species enjoys, the right to exist without fear of extermination. The debates that followed lasted for 6 hours. Species after species stood to apologize for their role in the attack. The Corvan Republic offered to share their advanced medical technology as payment for damages. The Thalan Hive promised to establish trade agreements with human colonies. When the voting finally took place, the results were overwhelming. The attack on the Liberty was declared illegal by a vote of 847 to 12. Admiral Thorne was ordered to be turned over to human authorities. The Zephyrian Empire was required to pay massive reparations and sign a non-aggression treaty. Most importantly, humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Council with all the rights and protections that status provided. As president, Johnson left the chamber. He was approached by dozens of alien ambassadors wanting to establish diplomatic relationships with Earth. The species that had tried to eliminate humanity were now desperate to become their friends. Admiral Sullivan walked beside the president as they headed back to their ship. Sir, do you think this will really bring peace? President Johnson smiled. Admiral, they came at us with 2,000 ships and learned that we could destroy them all with 50. I think they understand the message now. 6 months later, Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the rebuilt USS Liberty. The ship was better than new, equipped with some of the advanced technology that had been secret before the battle. Around him, his crew prepared for their next mission, exploring a distant star cluster that had never been visited by any species. Captain, said Communications Officer Lisa Rodriguez, we are receiving a transmission from Earth Command. They are wishing us good luck on our mission. Morrison smiled as he looked out at the stars ahead. Thank them for the message, Lisa, and set course for the unknown. We have a galaxy to explore. The age of humanity in space had truly begun. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the wide window of his ship's control room. Outside, space looked different than it had just an hour ago. Where there used to be empty darkness and distant stars, now there were ships. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They were huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. Their metal hulls gleamed with a strange blue light that made Jake's eyes hurt to look at directly. The ships belonged to the Zephyrians. Jake had heard about them in reports from the outer colonies, but seeing their fleet with his own eyes was something else entirely. Each ship was at least 10 times the size of his vessel, the UES Defiance. Some were so large they looked like floating cities made of crystal and metal. "Sir, we're getting a message from Earth Command," said Lieutenant Ben Rogers. His voice was tight with worry. Ben was young, maybe 25, and this was his first time seeing an alien fleet. His hands shook as he worked at his control panel. Jake walked over to the main screen. Admiral Lisa Kane's face appeared, her expression grim. Behind her, Jake could see the busy command center on Earth. People were running around, looking scared and confused. All ships, all colonies. "Listen carefully," Admiral Kane began. "The Zephyrian hegemony has given us an ultimatum. We have 48 hours to evacuate every human settlement beyond the Sol system. Every colony, every mining station, every research outpost. Everyone must return to Earth immediately." Jake felt his stomach drop. 48 hours. There were 12 major colonies spread across 3 star systems. Millions of people called those worlds home. How could they possibly evacuate everyone in 2 days? "The Zephyrians have made their position clear," the Admiral continued. "Humanity must retreat to our home system and accept their rule, or face complete destruction. Their technology is far beyond ours. We have no choice but to comply." The message ended, leaving the control room in silence. Jake looked around at his crew. They all had the same expression he felt on his own face. Shock, anger, and something else. Fear. Dr. Alex Carter, the ship's science officer, spoke first. "Captain, this doesn't make sense. Why would they want us to evacuate? If they wanted to destroy the colonies, they could just attack them." Alex was right. Jake had been thinking the same thing. In the past 3 months, the Zephyrians had attacked human military bases and destroyed warships, but they had been careful to avoid killing civilians. They could have wiped out entire cities, but they didn't. "Maybe they need something from us," suggested Colonel Amy Foster. She was the head of the ship's small marine unit, a tough woman who had fought in the border wars. "Maybe they want us alive for some reason?" Jake nodded. "Ben, get me a direct line to the colony worlds. I want to know what's happening out there." The first report came from New Eden, humanity's largest colony. Governor Pete Jackson appeared on the screen, his face red with anger. Behind him, Jake could see crowds of people in the streets. Some were carrying suitcases and bags. Others were shouting and waving signs. "Captain Morrison, it's chaos here," Governor Jackson said. "Half the people want to leave immediately. The other half are refusing to go. They've lived here for decades. This is their home. They won't abandon it because some aliens told them to." The next report was from Harmony Station. Engineer Laura. Mitchell was trying to coordinate the evacuation of the terraforming equipment. "We've spent 20 years making this planet livable," she said. "If we leave now, we lose everything. The atmosphere will revert. The crops will die. We'll have to start over from nothing." Similar reports came in from the mining worlds in the Kepler belt. The asteroid miners were some of the toughest people in human space. They had spent their lives working in the most dangerous environments imaginable. Many of them were refusing to leave. Captain Rachel Davis of the cargo ship Far Trader sent a message that summed up what many people were feeling. "We didn't come out here to run away at the first sign of trouble. We came here to build something. If we give up now, what was the point of any of it?" Jake understood their feelings. He had grown up on a colony world himself. Before joining the military, he had helped his parents run a farm on a planet 3 jumps from Earth. He knew what it meant to build a life somewhere far from home. Dr. Carter approached Jake with a data pad. Captain, I've been studying the Zephyrian fleet movements. Look at this. The screen showed a tactical display of the alien ships. They weren't arranged in attack formations. Instead, they were spread out in a pattern that looked like they were surrounding something, or herding it. They're not positioning to attack the colonies, Alex explained. They're positioning to guide our evacuation, like shepherds moving livestock. Jake studied the display more carefully. Alex was right. The Zephyrian ships were placed in spots where they could escort human evacuation fleets. They were being very careful to avoid any actions that might be seen as directly threatening. There's something else, Alex continued. I've been monitoring their communications. It's encrypted, but I can detect the signal patterns. They're not just talking to each other, they're talking to ships that aren't here. What do you mean? I think they're reporting to a larger fleet, somewhere else. This might not even be their main force. Before Jake could respond, Lieutenant Rogers called out from his station. Sir, we're getting a message from the Zephyrian fleet. They want to talk. Jake looked at his crew. This was the moment that would decide everything. He could follow orders, help with the evacuation, and hope that Earth Command knew what they were doing. Or he could try to find out what the Zephyrians really wanted. Put them through, he said. The main screen flickered, and suddenly Jake was looking at his first Zephyrian. The alien was tall and thin, with skin that looked like it was made of crystal. Strange lights pulsed beneath its surface, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. Its eyes were large and completely black, like looking into deep space. I am Commander Vextai of the Hegemony Fleet, the alien said. Its voice was strange, like several people speaking at once in perfect harmony. You are Captain Morrison of the human vessel Defiance. That's right, Jake replied, trying to keep his voice steady. You wanted to talk. Your species interests me, Captain. In our encounters with your military forces, you have shown a trait that is rare in the galaxy. You do not surrender easily. You adapt. You continue fighting even when logic suggests defeat is certain. Jake wasn't sure if that was a compliment or a threat. We don't like giving up. Yes, this quality may prove useful. But first, your people must learn discipline. They must learn to follow guidance from those who understand the greater dangers of the galaxy. What dangers? Commander Vextai was quiet for a moment. The lights under his crystal skin pulsed faster, as if he was thinking hard about something. There are things in the dark between stars, Captain Morrison. Things that consume entire civilizations. Your retreat to Earth is not surrender, it is preparation. If your species is to survive what is coming, you must first learn to trust those who have fought these enemies before. The transmission ended, leaving Jake and his crew staring at a blank screen. Outside the window, the Zephyrian fleet waited, in the darkness, silent and patient. Jake knew that in a few hours he would have to make a choice. Follow orders and help with the evacuation, or stay and try to learn more about these mysterious enemies the Zephyrians had mentioned. Either way, he had the feeling that nothing would ever be the same. Captain Jake Morrison walked slowly across the bridge of the USS Liberty. The ship was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and air systems. Outside the windows, stars stretched in all directions like tiny diamonds against black cloth. Jake had seen this view 1,000 times, but it still made him feel small and amazed. The Liberty was not a big ship. It carried only 43 people, making it one of the smallest human ships flying in deep space. Most of the crew had been together for 2 years. They knew each other well. Jake trusted every person on his ship with his life. Captain, We are getting some strange readings from the long-range sensors, said Chief Communications Officer Lisa Rodriguez. She sat at her station, watching screens full of numbers and lines. Lisa had been working with communications for 8 years. She knew when something was wrong. Jake walked over to her station. What kind of strange readings? Multiple ships moving toward our location. Big ones. They are still far away, but they are definitely coming this way. Lisa touched her screen, bringing up new information. Sir, there are a lot of them, more than I have ever seen in one place. Commander Alex Turner looked up from his own station. Alex was Jake's second-in-command and best friend. They had served together since their first assignment out of the academy. Captain, could it be a trading convoy? Sometimes merchant ships travel together for safety. No, sir, Lisa said, shaking her head. These energy signatures are all wrong for merchant ships. These are military vessels. Big ones. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. The Liberty was in neutral space, far from any known conflict zones. There was no reason for a large military force to be in this area. How many ships are we talking about, Lisa? I am not sure yet, sir. The computers are still counting, but it looks like hundreds. Maybe more. Lisa's voice was getting quieter. Captain, I am also picking up a transmission. It is on emergency. Frequencies. Put it on the main speakers, Jake ordered. The bridge fell silent as Lisa worked her controls. Static filled the air for a moment. Then a clear voice spoke in perfect galactic standard language. The voice was cold and mechanical. Human vessel detected in Sector 7 Alpha. Prepare the 3rd Battle Fleet. Authorization granted for complete extermination. No survivors. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The message repeated 2 more times, then stopped. Alex was the first to break the silence. Did that transmission just order our extermination? Yes, Jake said quietly. It did. Dr. Susan Blake, the ship's science officer, looked up from her station with wide eyes. Captain, who would send such a message? We have not attacked anyone. We are just exploring and mapping this sector. Jake had been asking himself the same question. The Liberty had been conducting peaceful surveys for 3 months. They had found some interesting minerals on dead planets and cataloged several new star systems. Nothing they had done could be considered threatening to anyone. Lisa, can you identify where that transmission came from? Jake asked. Lisa worked at her station for several minutes. Yes, sir. The signal originated from a Zephyrian Empire Fleet command ship. The transmission code identifies it as Admiral Vex Thorne's flagship. Everyone on the bridge knew that name. Admiral Thorne was famous throughout the galaxy as a military leader who had conquered many worlds for the Zephyrian Empire. He was known for being ruthless and efficient. If Thorne was coming for them, they were in serious trouble. Chief Engineer Danny Walsh to bridge, came a voice over the communication system. Go ahead, Danny, Jake replied. Captain, I am reading massive energy signatures on long-range sensors. Whatever is coming our way, it is big, really big. And, sir, we have a problem with our faster-than-light drive system. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. What kind of problem? We took some damage yesterday when we passed through that meteor shower. I thought it was minor, but the FTL drive is completely offline. It will take at least 6 hours to repair, maybe more. The bridge was silent again. Without their FTL drive, the Liberty could not escape. They would have to face whatever was coming for them. Alex ran tactical scans from his station. Captain, I am detecting energy signatures from multiple directions. This is not just one fleet. There are ships coming from 3 different vectors. They are surrounding us. Jake felt like the walls were closing in. A single Zephyrian battle fleet was enough to destroy 100 ships like the Liberty. Multiple fleets meant this was not a random encounter. Someone had planned this attack very carefully. How long until they reach us? Jake asked. At their current speed, approximately 4 hours, Alex replied. Dr. Blake stood up from her station. Captain, I do not understand. Why would the Zephyrian Empire want to destroy us? We have never fought them. Humans have barely been in space for 50 years. We are not a threat to anyone. Maybe that is exactly the problem, said Lisa. Maybe they see us as a future threat and want to stop us before we become more powerful. Jake knew Lisa was probably right. Humans were new to galactic politics. Some of the older alien species had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. To them, humans were like children playing with dangerous toys. Captain, Alex said, we need to send a message to Earth Command. They need to know what is happening here. Jake nodded. Lisa, send an emergency transmission to Earth. Full encryption. Tell them our situation and location. Make sure they know this appears to be an unprovoked attack. As Lisa worked on the transmission, Jake looked around his bridge. These people had become like family to him. They had shared dangers and discoveries together. The thought of them dying because some alien admiral decided humans were too dangerous to live made him angry. Sir, said Danny's voice over the communication system again, I might have an idea. We have that experimental quantum resonance equipment Dr. Blake brought aboard for geological surveys. I am thinking we might be able to modify it. Modify it how? Jake asked. Well, sir, if we can change the frequency output, we might be able to use it to disrupt enemy shield systems. It has never been tested in combat, but the theory is sound. Dr. Blake looked excited for the first time since the crisis began. Captain Danny is right. The quantum resonance array could theoretically interfere with most known shield technologies. It might give us a fighting chance. Jake made his decision. Danny, Blake, work together on that modification. Alex, prepare all defensive systems. Lisa, keep monitoring those approaching fleets and maintain contact with Earth. If we are going to die out here, we are going to make them remember us. The crew went to work with determined efficiency. Jake knew they had almost no chance against the force coming for them. But he also knew that humans had a long history of doing impossible things when their backs were against the wall. Maybe today would be one of those days. As he watched his people prepare for the fight of their lives, Jake activated a special protocol that had been built into every human ship since the first interstellar conflicts. The Prometheus Directive would ensure that Earth learned everything that happened here, no matter what the outcome. The Liberty might die, but humanity would remember. Commander Zethkar stood on the bridge of his warship and smiled. Today would be another easy victory. His ship, the Crimson Talon, was one of the most feared vessels in the hegemony fleet. For over 300 years, his people had been conquering weak species across the galaxy. Today's target was a young race called humans. The report said these humans had only recently learned to travel between stars. They lived on a single world called Earth, in a system they named Sol. Perfect prey for the hegemony. Zethkar had done this many times before. Show up with superior firepower, demand surrender, and watch the primitives bow down in fear. Drop us out of hyperspace at the edge of their system, Zethkar ordered his helm officer. Let them see us coming. Fear makes surrender easier. The Crimson Talon was a massive ship, nearly 1 kilometer long. Its hull was covered with plasma cannons and missile launchers. Energy shields protected it from most attacks. In the cargo bay, Thousands of hegemony soldiers waited to occupy the human world once they surrendered. As they emerged from hyperspace, Zethkar felt the familiar thrill of conquest. Soon, another species would join the hegemony empire. The humans would work in their factories, fight in their armies, and serve their masters without question. It was the natural order of things. "Sir, we are picking up energy signatures," reported his sensor officer. "There appears to be artificial structures throughout this system." "Good," Zethkar replied. "The more developed they are, the more useful. They will be as slaves." "What about their military?" The sensor officer frowned at his readings. "Sir, I am detecting several large objects near the third planet. They appear to be ships, but the size readings seem wrong." "Wrong how?" "They are showing as much larger than our vessel, sir, but that cannot be accurate. No primitive species builds ships that size." Zethkar walked over to look at the sensor display himself. The readings did seem unusual, but primitive sensors often gave false information. "Recalibrate and scan again, and find me their largest warship. I want to speak with whoever leads their pathetic fleet." 2 billion kilometers away, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Valiant and watched the alien ship approach. He had been expecting this day for months. Earth's deep space monitoring stations had detected the hegemony vessel. When it was still weeks away from the Sol system, the Valiant was humanity's newest warship, and Jake was proud to command her. At nearly 2 kilometers long, she was the largest ship ever built by human hands. Her hull was covered in armor that could stop almost any known weapon. Railguns lined her sides like the teeth of some metal beast. Inside her armored core sat a fusion reactor more powerful than most stars. But the Valiant was not alone. 3 other human warships waited nearby, each one a match for any alien vessel, and hidden throughout the system were weapons the aliens could not even imagine. "Sir, the alien ship has stopped at the edge of the system," reported Lieutenant Commander Lisa Chen from her position at the tactical station. "They are scanning us." Jake nodded slowly. "Let them get a good look. Communications, are we ready?" "To transmit?" "Yes, sir. All frequencies prepared. Helm, bring us about. I want our broadside facing them. Let them see what they are dealing with." As the Valiant slowly turned, her massive bulk became visible to the alien sensors. The ship looked like a floating fortress, bristling with weapons and covered in thick armor plating. Point defense systems created geometric patterns across her hull. Energy readings from her reactor made space itself seem to glow around her. Back on the Crimson Talon, the sensor readings were causing panic among the crew. The human ship was not just large, it was impossibly advanced. The energy output from its reactor was higher than anything in hegemony records. The armor was denser than neutronium. The weapon signatures suggested destructive power beyond belief. "Sir," the sensor officer said in a shaking voice, "these readings cannot be correct. According to our scans, that single human ship could destroy our entire fleet." Zethkar felt his confidence beginning to crack. In 3 centuries of conquest, he had never seen readings like these. "Check the sensors again. Run a full diagnostic." "I have checked them 5 times, sir. The readings are accurate." For the first time in his military career, Commander Zethkar began to feel afraid. The humans were supposed to be a primitive species. They were supposed to be easy prey. Instead, they had built ships that made hegemony technology look like children's toys. "Sir, incoming transmission from the human vessel," his communications officer reported. "Put it on screen." The image that appeared showed a human male in a dark blue uniform. His face was calm, but his eyes held a hardness that Zethkar recognized. This was the look of a warrior who had seen battle and was not afraid of it. "I am Captain Morrison of the Earth Defense Force vessel Valiant," the human said. "You have entered sovereign human space without permission. State your business here." Zethkar tried to regain his composure. He had delivered ultimatums to hundreds of species. He would not be intimidated by these primitives, no matter how large their ships appeared to be. "I am Commander Zethkar of the Hegemony. We offer your species the chance to join our empire peacefully. Surrender now, and your world will be spared destruction." Captain Morrison's expression did not change. "That offer is rejected. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal from this system, or you will be fired upon." Zethkar could hardly believe what he was hearing. No primitive species had ever refused hegemony demands. No one had ever threatened him. "You dare threaten us? We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Your single ship cannot stand against the might of the hegemony." "Single ship?" Morrison asked, and for the first time he smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Tactical. Show our friends what they are really facing." Throughout the Sol system, cloaked ships began to decloak. Dozens of human warships appeared as if from nowhere. Some were smaller than the Valiant, built for speed and stealth. Others were even larger, massive dreadnoughts, designed to stand against entire fleets. But the ships were not the worst surprise. As the hegemony sensors recalibrated, they began detecting other objects. Weapon platforms hidden in the asteroid belt. Defense stations orbiting every planet and moon. Missile launchers built into asteroids. Railgun batteries on the dark side of Earth's moon. The entire system was a fortress. Every piece of space debris, every moon, every planet had been turned into part of a massive defensive network. The humans had not just built a few ships, they had turned their entire star system into a weapon. "Sir," the sensor officer whispered, "we are outnumbered at least 50 to 1, and that is just what we can detect. There may be more ships we cannot see." Zethkar stared at the tactical display in growing horror. This was supposed to be an easy conquest. Instead, he had led his ship into a trap that could destroy 100 hegemony fleets. The human captain's voice came over the communication system again, calm and certain. "Commander, you now have 15 seconds to begin your withdrawal. I suggest you do not waste them." For the first time in hegemony history, Commander Zethkar considered retreat.